everyone. My name is Tanya Massa. I'm Director of Programs at the Ontario Centres of Excellence. I'd like to welcome you to the inaugural Experiential Learning Competition. The Experiential Learning Program is to help students across Ontario to get the training and experience they need to turn their ideas into market-ready solutions, products, and services by learning and doing. I'd like to introduce you to our moderator, Tim Ellis. Tim Ellis is the CEO of the Accelerator Centre. He's a seasoned entrepreneur, a technology industry veteran, and an expert in the cultivation of early-stage companies. Tim brings more than 18 years of commercialization experience, honed through participation in more than half a dozen startup ventures. Tim, come on up. Thank you.
That just means I'm old, relative to those in the room. Thank you, Tanya. Good morning. My name is Tim Ellis, and I'm delighted to be moderating today's session. As many of you know, encouraging, mentoring, and nurturing the next generation of science and technology talent here in Ontario is critical to driving the economic sustainability and prosperity of this province. The Experiential Learning Program does this by supporting Ontario post-secondary institutions by helping them manage and grow established project and experience-based programs for young entrepreneurs that will accelerate and further enhance the quality of new ventures and industry collaborations arising from Ontario academic institutions. Today, we will be awarding up to 4 prizes of $25,000 to our competitors and our moderator. Oh, maybe not the moderator. I'd like to introduce you briefly to our judges. More detailed biographies can be found on the Discovery website. Our first judge, Trish Barrow, Director of Commercialization and CCR OCE, where she oversees the commercialization programs of Ontario Centres of Excellence, such as the Market Readiness Program, as well as the commercialization programs of CCR. We're delighted to have you with us today, Trish. Our second judge, Jean-Claude Gavrel, former Associate Vice President, Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council of Canada.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
He's louder than me.
OCE Discovery 2012. Your theaters are about to begin, so please make your way to the theaters on the trade show floor. Have a great day.
Jean-Claude is the current Director of Networks of Centres of Excellence. Under his leadership, the NCE has expanded and launched several successful programs promoting Canadian R&D and innovation, including the Centres of Excellence for Commercialization of Research and business-led, bear with me, Networks of Centres of Excellence and the Industrial Research and Development Internships. Thanks for joining us today, Jean. Next on our judging panel is Janet Scholes, President of ACCT Canada. Janet has extensive background and experience in the fields of intellectual asset management, business development, technology transfer management, university, business, government relations. Thank you for making the trip today and being with us. Our fourth judge, Dr. Ian Smith, the founder of National Research Council Institute for Biodiagnostics in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Their research focuses on the development and commercialization of medical devices for non-invasive diagnosis of diseases. Ian is dedicated to the early detection and treatment of diseases and to advancing both the state of medicine and the economy. Welcome, Ian. Rounding out our judging panel is Daryl Johnston, Director of Market Development, Technology, Media, Telecommunications, and Clean Tech, Deloitte & Touche LLP. Daryl is well connected in the TMT space with over 19 years' experience working with high-growth, public and private, TMT clients across a broad range of industry subsectors, including telecom, software, hardware, high-tech manufacturing, clean tech, social, and digital media. That makes you old like me, too. Thanks for joining us today, Daryl, and thank you to all of our judges for coming to Discovery. With that, I'd like to move right into our student presentations now. Just to be clear, you've got 5 minutes and I've got a timer. So the hook comes out at 5 minutes. Try to keep it close. Our first presentation is Aresh.
All right, so I need to somehow upload my talk. There we go. Thank you very much, Tim, for your introduction. My name is Arash, and I'm CTO of Vertinova Analytical, a U of T spin-off company with a big vision to redefine biodiagnostics as we know it today. I'm sure we've all been sick, we've all given blood, and some of us might be waiting for the results to come in right now. A simple blood test nowadays involves measuring very accurately the amounts of perhaps 1 to 100 different kind of molecules. Anything from glucose to iron to cholesterol can now be fairly routinely tested. The problem is, for every one of these molecules that your doctor requests testing on, your sample needs to be processed independently and analyzed using a different platform or instrument. As such, you've got to give a lot of blood and wait for a few days for the results to come in. So the next big thing to save cost and time in this process is a single instrument platform that takes a small drop of blood, we want to simplify the instrumentation, and tells you everything you need to know about the patient in a matter of minutes and not days. Of course, we're not going to go through somebody's vein with a bore and get a lot of blood. Since we're conserving sample volume, it's also important that we use a very sensitive detection platform. And we're lucky because right now there is such a thing out there. It's a device that's called a mass spectrometer. It's a device that hospitals have been buying. Its sales on the rise. But the problem with it is right now you can't use this for quantitative measurements. Remember that in biodiagnostic, quantitation is key. Unless you take this and combine it to our novel laser technology and a sampling device that's proprietary to us, you're not going to be able to use this for quantitative measurements. So our product is an add-on module with low integration risk to existing mass spectrometers, such that this combination allows this sensitive platform to be used for the first time in quantitative measurements. As such, we offer simplification of instrumentation for medical sciences, increase the speed and delivery of results, reliability of measurements, and even enable new kind of discoveries. We offer full profiling of samples using a single drop without extensive pre-processing, and this is key because there's significant cost saving associated here. With multiplexing, we can look at a lot of things at the same time, and we can do it a lot cheaper than competition. We don't need fancy reagents. We don't need kits. Our costs are basically running costs. So analysis in our case could cost up until $10 as opposed to competition that could charge for a few hundred. In competitive landscape, we're extremely well positioned to pull this off. We are protected by 2 issued patents, and amongst the technologies that I've listed here, ours is the only one that can be used for quantitative measurements. And you don't need to take my word for it. We have conducted extensive interviews with experts from these notable institutions that have attested to our competitive advantage. Of course, with a powerful platform technology like ours, the sky is the limit. But the market that we want to penetrate first is medical diagnostics. This is where we're going to have the higher impact. This is where there is a need to contain costs. Mass spectrometry is a $600 million market that's sitting nested in a larger $2.6 billion clinical chemistry market. And within it, there is a growing demand for quantitative measurements, which is considered a good entry point for our technology. This is where our competitive advantage is the strongest. Of course, once this technology matures, the mass spectrometry market will be able to capture a more significant portion of this pie. The only reason that mass spectrometry market has been capped to 600 million sales in North America has been lack of quantitative measurements. This is exactly what our technology addresses. So where we are right now, we have obtained proof of principle validation of our technology using an alpha prototype that's sitting in our lab. The OCE funds will be used to design a transportable, compact footprint beta prototype that we can take to our customers' sites and have it evaluated using their samples. And this validation is required to secure strategic partnerships with an established analytic device manufacturer to rapidly gain market share. This strategy is based on the fact that the entry barriers are quite high in an analytic device company. There's a lot of costs associated with development. And by tapping into these big players, with some of whom we've already initiated some contacts, you can lower the barrier by exploiting their sales channels and expertise and development. So by providing a single instrument platform for single drop analysis, Vertinovo Analytical will transform medical diagnostics domain by providing cheaper, faster, and better means of diagnostics. Of course, no great technology is anything
open 5 minutes of questions, so if you stay pretty close to the mic.
Could you explain why you're so quantitative?
Basically, I didn't want to get into the details, but our ion source is laser-based. We're not sensitive to matrix effects, and we use an ion source that's extremely deterministic.
That's the only thing that makes it quantitative, the way you project the sample into the beam.
Basically, it's the fact that we're using a laser-based system to quantitatively ionize the molecules. And we're all fully laser-based. We don't need dopant. There's no chemical ionization involved.
What I was missing in your text was demonstration.
Right.
Measure against some other
Exactly.
clinical parameter, whatever, but one of the blood analytes.
So what we've done so far is we've demonstrated matrix independence using plasma. We know that we're not sensitive to salt compared to the other ion sources, and these are recent data that we acquired in the past 2 months. There is actually a strong linear dependence with concentration, which we have also recently demonstrated.
Could you provide a bit more details on your market plan?
Exactly. The entry barriers are quite high in analytic device company. There's a lot of costs associated with development. There is reluctance to purchase a revolutionary disruptive product from an unknown vendor. So our strategy is to have a compact functional beta prototype and demonstrate its applicability so that we can secure a strategic partnership and co-develop in a licensing agreement the add-on module with an established medical device or analytic device manufacturer.
You're supposed to touch it.
Do you know if there's any regulatory hurdles that you'll have to get through?
That's a very good point. We are lucky to enter mass spectrometry market at this time because there's been accreditation given for certain tests. Of course, there are processes that we need to go through, and having a big player on board is a great facilitator for that.
Arash, just one comment about who you've talked to in terms of strategic partners.
Right.
Have you had some discussions, and what's their receptivity so far? And have you watched the history of folks dealing with large equipment manufacturers, medical
Absolutely. We've actually had a partnership with SciEx through OCE, and they've been extremely enthusiastic. We've recently talked to Brooker, which we've been fairly enthusiastic to help us out down the road. What they want to see is validation of the compact beta prototype. They've been extremely enthusiastic about our results, and once that is secured in a year time, we'll definitely be able to approach that.
Great. And what would your cost of your unit be relative to an MS?
That's a very good point. The most significant cost of our unit is the laser. That's in hundreds of thousands. It's basically $100,000 to $200,000. But this is exactly what we're working on by partnering with manufacturer of this special laser, which is also a spin-off from U of T to keep the cost down. We are aiming to keep the laser cost down to basically a tenth of a mass spectrometer unit. Right now, the cost of a laser is probably about a third of a good mass spectrometer unit.
How big is Atodyne?
Atodyne is growing. They've had cumulative sales of over $1 million.
And how much
They have-
per? 200,000 per laser?
For this system, that's the tag price.
Okay.
I mean, of course, there are opportunities we can partner with them and reduce costs or vertically integrate. We've been initiating discussions. That's one strategy.
Okay.
So you mentioned that there was a low integration risk. And
Yes.
so do you have evidence of that in working with machines other than
Very good
SciEx?
question. Absolutely. So, of course, the instrument we've done most of the validation on is the QS Star from SciEx, but we've actually integrated it with a couple of other instruments from Thermo and Finnegan. It's a very simple integration mechanism. So as long as you just design a mechanical adapter, you're fine. We've tested so far on 3 instruments, 3 different ones.
And have you talked at all with SciEx about the potential of them integrating into their machine in a licensing deal as opposed to
That's a very good point. Of course, when you do this thing, you like to be part of the fun. You just don't want to license something out and sit aside. So we're trying to take this basically organically and bootstrap on the way once we have something a little bit more attractive.
That concludes our questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up is Dave English, the concussion box. Toolbox. Toolbox.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dave Inglis. I'm a recent kinesiology graduate from Wilfrid Laurier University, and today I'm here to talk to you guys about a startup that I've been developing called the Concussion Toolbox. So chances are that every single person in this audience either has a friend, a family member, a colleague, if not yourself, has been affected by a concussion. The most serious consequence of a concussion is whether or not you make a premature return to play decision on the athlete and have them go back to play, where at that time they can experience a second concussion before the original one is fully healed. This is an injury called a secondary impact syndrome, and one that has actually ended my own athletic career. Currently in concussion management, the standard is to do a baseline assessment of neurocognitive ability. That way a therapist can have future insight to have reference to this baseline to make sure you're returning to play at appropriate time. At this point in time, there's no objective testing available to athletic therapists to do this baseline for balance or for coordination. The Concussion Toolbox is a mobile application that delivers technology-driven balance and coordination assessment tools to therapists on their smartphone, as well as an aggregation platform to pull all the results within an athletic profile to make an evidence-based return-to-play decision. Our first tool within the toolbox is called the IBAT test. So currently, balance is assessed with athletes by a very standardized and subjective test called a balance air scoring system, where they'll have them complete the 6 tasks described here in the image, and they will visually count the number of postural adjustments made throughout the task to make their score. Our solution to this is by strapping our mobile application with the smartphone to the lower back of the athlete with our waistband. Our application will actually quantify the number of postural adjustments made during the task, as well as various other data, to create a baseline assessment for them to have future reference to. With our platform there, results are immediately commuted onto the smartphone themselves and then stored into the athlete's profile online. This is some proprietary solution that we're working with right now, and we have had potential patentability discussions with our lawyer from Gallings, and something that we're looking to pursue. The second tool within our toolbox is called the ICAT test. And currently, much like the balance assessment tool, coordination is assessed by a rudimentary finger-to-nose test, which is very subjective, and you can't, again, create any baseline for future comparison to. So our solution to this is called the ICAT test, where athletes will be asked to complete 40 static and dynamic object interception tasks, varying in speed, direction, and visibility duration. Oh, wrong button there. So just a quick animation to give you an idea of the static and dynamic tasks we'll be working with. The third part of our concussion toolbox is the platform that's going to pull everything together to make this easy for therapists to manage. So right now you need various tests to make your return to play decision. Our platform will aggregate all the tests available to therapists online within an athlete's profile to make them allowed to do an evidence-based return to play decision, as well as having access to cohort-specific averages to know whether or not their scores are within an acceptable range. What I want you to take away from this slide is that we have done our competitive assessment and looked at our competition, but we do have some distinct advantages that are really going to set us apart with our competitive advantage, especially the ability to do baseline, balance, and motor coordination assessment and our aggregation tool. Our target market to start is going to be the 130,000 therapists within North America alone. These 130,000 athletic therapists will be able to provide our tool as a service to the 7 million athletes playing hockey, soccer, and football alone right now in North America. Our primary target market is going to be North America, and we see that the Concussion Toolbox has great global potential. Our market entry strategy, our path to revenue, has already started today. We're working very closely with the therapists within our local network to make sure the Concussion Toolbox is answering their problems in their practice. Our strategy is to target academic conferences at first, along with a controlled release to local therapists to get some user feedback. We also plan on being at the OHL Combine this 2013 summer to do baseline testing on high-profile athletes. With bills such as Bill 39 coming through, making it mandatory for high schools to have a concussion management program in place for their athletes, along with national sport organizations, this is a strategy we see as being a catalyst for us to enter the market. And our stage 3 is going to be our global seeking potential. Our pricing model right now is very tentative. However, it's following a pricing model that is mimicked by many of our competitors in the industry, so it will be used to the therapists, offering them varying different packages depending on the volume of athletes they manage within their practice. Our team is extremely diverse and very well balanced. I myself have been studying how balance is affected by concussions for the last 2 years with Dr. Michael Chinelli at our university, and he has had 12 years plus experience working with balance, posture, and gait analysis. I plan on doing an MBA to further my business knowledge to really bring this company into the market. And as you can see, we have a very diverse advisory board that's very active. As for the money from today, from the OCE prize money, we plan on really building out our team through programs available to us to build on a software engineer developer to really allow us to build our product to go to market.
So I've got a question on the ICAT, and because you with this you're trying to display some other tools being used today. So what is the scientific or background for it, and how will it be accepted in the marketplace?
Jean-Claude, could you just clarify the first part there? Did you ask that I'm trying to push out other tests in the industry?
Yes, with
Okay.
with your product, you're trying to replace other
The finger-to-nose
other
rudimentary
methods. Exactly.
task.
So, what kind of scientific base will you use to show that your new approach can replace those?
That's something that Dr. Michael Cinelli has been working on for the last year right now. So building it in our lab with our varsity athletes, we're trying to prove our science behind it and the research there to validate our process in doing that. Does that answer your question, sorry?
It's your answer, it's not mine.
Nope, fair.
I have a question.
Yes, Ian.
How long do you think that exam would take? I'm thinking of a hockey game. All the excitement, thousands of people watching, and you're trying to decide whether this guy's had a concussion. How long do you take him off while you decide whether he can go back on?
Currently, right now, if an athlete is suspected of having a concussion, they'll take them into the dressing room right out of play. And it generally is about a 10 to 15-minute assessment. With the balance test itself, it's 6 conditions, which are about 20 seconds each. So that's the balance aspect, and our coordination would probably be about 5 minutes as well. So you're looking at 15 to 20 minutes, which is fairly standard. And again, we're facilitating the already existing test that's being used. So about 15 to 20 minutes to answer your question.
Thank you.
Dave, I'm just wondering about the cohort comparative analysis. How do you position yourself to become effectively the de facto standard to be able to accumulate that data and help grow your business?
I think that will come down to really making some key partnerships with big players who are already doing testing, such as the impact testing within the industry. And with that being said, our goal is to have a mobile device that can do mass data collection. So being able to build that large database before going to market through our early adopters. And that way we can really have that foundation. It's going to be something that's continuously growing as well.
And are there other factors that could influence an athlete's performance relative to the cohort group? Like weight, BMI, or is there any other things that don't provide a particularly good correlation?
Certainly, and I think that really touches, Daryl, on the one point with concussion management. You really can't rely on one test or one cohort to really make that reference point and say, hey, you're ready to go back to play, you've returned to this baseline or within a cohort. The decision to return to play is a very subjective decision the therapist has to make. So they're going to use those cohorts as a guideline. Much as the baseline is used right now, you really can't make that decision based on one set alone statistic. You're welcome.
So I noticed in your application that there's a lot of uncertainty around the intellectual property in this. And have you made any gains in resolving the intellectual property risks?
That's one thing that we're really trying to figure out what exactly our intellectual property is. Right now we're doing a lot of searching as far as patents go and the other balance analysis techniques with our partner at Gavrel, just to really make sure that we're not crossing any of their borders. So that's exactly what we're working on right now, is to work on our intellectual property to really fasten that patent on it.
Yeah, because I see that there's potential ownership of other parties who are not necessarily parties to the corporation. So I would encourage you to resolve that very quickly.
No, we've already been speaking to Wilfred Laurier about that, and seeing as it was an undergraduate idea bringing forward, they say that I'm more than welcome to start my own company, work with the product, and I can facilitate my relationship with Dr. Michael Cinelli to really do the research, and that they have no invested interest right now.
And what about the App Factory?
The App Factory. Right now, we're actually looking at possibly leaving that application with them and starting over with the ICAP possibly, just on a new user interface. The only reason that is with the App Factory, we found that the co-op students, they're only there for 4 months, and we're looking to build an in-house software development team that will really be able to stick with us through commercialization. So the ICAT was more or less a prototype for us to use data collection and to really give our research sound behind it in our research. But that's something we're looking to actually use the money towards from today to build our software development team to reestablish that application. Yes, Trish.
You've indicated that there are a number of competitors in the space already. How are you going to fight against them and make sure that you're the ones that they go to?
So are you asking how I was going to fight against them?
How are you going to maintain your competitive advantage?
The competitive advantage, to be honest with you, and that's kind of the nice thing about concussion management, the therapist can really use all of the tests available. We're really not directly competing. A lot of our competitors do neurocognitive assessments. We're one of the only ones who are offering objective baseline on balance. And right now, obviously when we enter the market, that will probably spark some interest in other people. And so that will be where we're going to actually hopefully build out our product in something called a balance assessment toolbox and really focus on that proprietary knowledge. Because with elderly populations growing, we're hoping on doing fall predicting as well with our application. So we hope on really focusing on the balance component and just being something that therapists can use to facilitate in their practice. So really we're going to be able to combine with our competition to give a more holistic approach to the management.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Next up, and I probably won't pronounce this right, Eula Besizo, Fat Buster Dough. Was I even close?
Can you hear me? I guess so. I can't see the timer. Okay. Good morning. I'm Ola. Health Overhauls is the name of my company, and I sell health using Fat Buster Dough technology. 2 in 3 Canadian adults and 1 in 3 Canadian children are currently overweight or obese, putting them at risk for developing type 2 diabetes, which is associated with increased incidence of heart attacks and strokes. 50% of Canadians over 40 are at risk for developing type 2 diabetes, and Ontario Health spends $1 billion a year approximately on type 2 diabetes-related expenses, which does not include the hidden cost and lost productivity to our economy. The pain I'm addressing using Fat Buster Dough technology is the lack of available low-carb but affordable snack substitutes. What happens when we consume a carbohydrate is that our pancreas releases insulin, and it transforms the energy into something called glycogen that's stored in your muscle and liver cells. And once those stores are full, you lose insulin sensitivity, and any additional carbohydrate accumulates in your blood and is stored directly as fat. So Health Overhauls wants to overhaul the health of a person by using obesity as a marker. So what ends up happening to stop this is you need to stop the accumulation of blood sugar using Fat Buster Dough technology and what I call the health makeover, which is something I'm currently working on. Fat Buster Dough technology will be introduced to the market in the form of the Ola loaf, which is a loaf that has 25 slices, and each slice has 2 grams of carbohydrate in it, and it's mostly fiber, which is indigestible, which means that it's not going to affect your blood sugar. Now, Harvard came up with a concept called the glycemic load in 1997, and the glycemic load of my product is actually 0. And it has the ability to, I call it bust fat, because when combined with other ingredients, it brings down their glycemic load. So that's a unique difference. It's also satiety promoting, meaning that it will signal to your brain that you are full, so you're not going to have those cravings or the energy dips. And it has organic, natural ingredients, which means that you're not going to have the endocrine disruptors that actually stimulate insulin secretion, even if you don't actually consume carbohydrate. It's free of most major allergens, like gluten, soy, peanuts, and lactose. And the gluten part is really important because all products out there that are gluten-free use xanthan or guar gums in order to bind them together, and those have their own health issues, but my technology uses none of that. It actually doesn't even have preservatives, no salt added, no fat added. So what I innovated is a technology to bind using a special chemical reaction, but with no chemical or toxic ingredients. It also toasts quickly, and it gets less soggy, making it ideal as a biscotti or as a crouton. It's manipulated easily and has a 40% profit margin. My competition focuses on different elements of allergens, like they'll be gluten-free, they'll be lactose-free, they'll be sugar-free, or peanut-free, or you have the whole food snacks that try to manipulate, well, they use ancient grains. But my products are better than all of this because they combine all of them in one thing, and they do not cause a blood sugar response, which all of these things do. The market I plan on introducing the Ola loaf in is the whole foods industry. In Canada, the organic industry is valued at around $2 billion. The snack portion of it is $21 million, and the bakery portion is $14 million. So my commitment is to sell around $1 million of Ola loaf slices per year for the next 3 years. I'm going to start by focusing on the whole foods industry because the health food consumer values health and is willing to pay a premium for it. They're also usually looked at, their friends look up to them for health advice. And considering that my product actually tastes good and looks like it could be regular dough, it's an added advantage. So they start on it, and then as I protect my IP, then at that point, other people might be interested in using my technology, say in Tim Hortons or Starbucks or something like that, as a health alternative to the same thing. So you can actually transform a cheat into a treat that's actually good for you. I'm currently using social networking to market my research on cellular metabolism, and I have actually released it probably a month and a half ago. I have over 1,000 views, and I'm currently being watched in Canada, the United States, Australia, and Germany. And I have around 25 interested candidates that heard my interview on the CBC. So Julia Arrington interviewed me, and they are participating on a live weight loss before and after using my health makeovers and my Fat Buster dough technology in the form of the Ola loaf on my YouTube channel, which is Health Overhauls, and that should happen in the next few weeks. Thanks. I also have samples, so you're welcome to try it if you don't have any allergies.
Yeah, definitely. We need the samples.
Yeah.
The market, your market approach. Okay, I think in your document you hint a little bit of how you're proposed to do, but could you clarify that? And how do you feel that you're going to reach your $1 million sales?
I've been involved in this industry as a fitness center supervisor and in the whole food industry for I'd say 3 to 5 years right now. And I know all 16 wholesale locations in the Ottawa area. So it's as simple as just asking to set up a booth in those locations and have people taste test it. But that's only after my YouTube channel human trial is actually out there. So that's how I plan on doing it initially. I'm also a Carleton University entrepreneur, and recently I just won the West Nickel internship in Ottawa. So I have the team, like a whole marketing team available to me, and Mr. Wells is actually here supporting me as well today. So I actually have marketing teams, and I have all the business-related people that are going to help me do it. I'm responsible for just making the product work and for basically justifying the claims that I'm making.
I guess my question was about the claims. Exactly. I couldn't understand if you actually proven everything you said.
Okay.
About the lowering the sugar and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because you can't do a human trial without a lot of complex regulatory procedures, right?
Well, I'm not calling it a clinical trial. I'm calling it testimonials for my business. So most weight loss companies have before and after. So they get someone, they take a picture, and then they ask them to put on weight, and then they take the picture, and then they tell you that the after is the before. So my difference is that I'm going to have these 25 candidates broadcast the results as they happen on my YouTube channel, and so that way people will see that the changes occur as they occur. And actually, Mr. Fielding, he's the OCE representative in the Ottawa area. I thought I saw him.
He's here.
Okay, but his wife actually is hypoglycemic. And when I went to apply for this competition, she tried it, and it helped her focus and kept her insulin levels stabilized for, he said, 3 to 4 hours. And other people that have tasted it in the Invest Ottawa area have been asking me to buy it because it allows them to focus and they don't get hungry. And that's one of the things, because wheat has morphine-like properties to it. And so to ask someone to cut out carbs, it's not going to happen. But to give them an alternative that they can snack on the go, that they can enjoy, eventually will get them to wean off of it without them having to think about it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Well, if I can just expand on Ian's question, and that was really foodstuffs are tightly controlled in terms of the FDA, et cetera.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate tests that you have to go through to be able to get to the point where you can actually sell your product?
Well, the easiest way is to get a bakery. There's a gluten-free bakery in Ottawa that just recently opened. So I spoke to them about my ideas, but until I can actually protect my IP, I don't want to ask them to produce it for me. So as soon as I get the funding to do that, then they will be producing it. So I don't have to actually worry about those aspects of it because the bakery has already been established and it's already, I guess, government approved. So that way, what I'm really interested in is getting my product out there in the whole food industry, and then with time as it catches on, to license the recipe for other people to use it until I can develop other products, which I have many of. It's just this is the thing I'm focusing on right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you have you come up with an idea where your price point will be in terms of?
I already had preliminary focus groups, and they went from as low as $2 per slice to as high as $5 per slice. And they said that they saw the product being sold at Bridgehead or Starbucks. And so that was really good for me because it meant I would make a 40% profit margin if I used the $2, like the $2 price level. And like one slice is 9 centimeters long and about a centimeter thick, so it's a good portion.
One question.
Yes.
What's the biggest batch you've made right to date?
Well, it takes me like 3 hours to make about 20 loaves
About 20.
in my kitchen. So in a bakery, that is exponential, and there's no specialty capital requirements to make this. It's just the chemical reaction that I came up with. And I do it in such a way as to retain the nutritional content of my product. So that way I don't use high temperatures. I take into consideration inflammation. So my product does have, omega-3s in it from free-run eggs, things like that. I'm very, very specific.
What about consistency and taste throughout the loaves?
It's always the same thing.
Always the same?
Yeah. And I already have people interested in purchasing it, but I don't want to do that until I've made the link on my YouTube health channel of how it helps maintain your blood sugar levels. And my YouTube channel just discusses all the research out there. So I'm a researcher. So if you look at any type of study, if it does not support the normal distribution where 95% of the data supports your approach, then it has no evidence. So the current mainstream nutritional approach is that saturated fat causes heart attacks or plaque buildup. But the person that came up with that was Ansel Keys, and he only used 27% of the available data. So he had 22 countries, and he chose only 6 of them. So when you actually look at research, you can actually see whether you should actually take it on or base something on it or not, which is why I believe that the current obesity epidemic, type 2, is related to Keys' work, because everyone just took it and built on it. But if you have, bad foundations, you can't really target it. And I used to be 161 pounds, so I lost about 40 pounds just by following the concepts of cellular metabolism. My health makeovers involve, it's called glycogen store depletion. So my process involves going to the gym twice a week and working out for a maximum of 12 minutes. And I'm teaming up with a company called Peak Performance, which does athletic conditioning. But what I'm trying to showcase to people is that by following, cellular metabolism, which is pretty established biochemically speaking, aerobic metabolism, anaerobic metabolism, you will actually increase your endurance without doing any cardio at all, because it has to do with your ability to turn your anaerobic metabolism on a dime, create a lot of pyruvate so that you have your aerobic metabolism continue. So if you have that, then you don't actually have to worry about your metabolism being efficient. So it's been, a long way, and I really explain it in detail in 5 to 10 minutes on my health YouTube channel, which is why people are subscribing to it. And I'm basically bringing research in a way that relates to people. And I literally would quote the researchers, and I would quote their quotes, and I'll tell people where to find it. And people have been corresponding with me on Twitter. They're like, "Where did you get that information?" Most people don't know that if you consume one bagel and a caramel latte, you've effectively completely filled your blood sugar stores. So any additional carbohydrate, if you do not deplete those, will be stored directly as fat. And the only biochemically possible way for you to gain weight is to have a blood sugar spike. So even if you eat food that's super bad for you, if it does not spike your blood sugar, it's impossible for you to get fat. It's physically, biochemically impossible. And most people don't understand that. Yeah.
Thank you, Ola.
It just started.
Next up is Mohammed Ashim from Akindi.
I'm recovering fast. It's going to be okay. Put away the defibrillator.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mahmoud Hashim, and I'm a recent graduate from the McMaster Engineering, Entrepreneurship, and Innovation Program, and I want to take this opportunity to thank them and thank OCE for this great opportunity. I'm the founder of Akindi, and Akindi is a web-based service that automates the grading and the analysis of multiple choice tests, saving educators valuable time and money. Let me explain. You remember these, right? These are the bubble sheets that come along with multiple choice tests that most students use for their multiple choice tests. The bad news is that they still exist today. And these sheets cost somewhere between 10 to 25 cents. And the only way these sheets can work is that if they are used with this proprietary scanner that costs somewhere between $1,000 to $8,000. And the results that come out of this come in an Excel sheet that looks like that. And teachers, if they want to be able to move data or transport it to some other gradebook, they have to copy paste that data over. The company that actually makes these is called Scantron. They have a monopoly on the market, and they actually sell somewhere around 150 million worth of hardware, software, and paper per year. What we're doing is that we created a web-based system that allows a teacher to come in, print a template like this on any sheet of paper that they have, give it to their students, conduct a test, collect the paper back, and throw it into any scanner that they have that might look like that, take that file and upload it or email it directly to our service, and we give them their results and analytics in a beautiful dashboard that looks like that. And we're giving that all away for free. And the reason why we're giving it for free is that we believe we can do so much more valuable things that Scantron cannot do that we can start charging for. Things like giving the teachers the ability to custom build their own tests, or for institution-wide analytics, meaning a principal, for example, if his or her teachers are using this assessment system, they're able to have a premium dashboard that allows them to see across all the teachers that they have. And so they don't have to do any of the manual work of trying to understand how the school is performing, or even learning management system integration. So schools, we can integrate with their IT system so that teachers can, with a push of a button, be able to move the grades and move the data across multiple systems without having to copy paste. It also positions us to go into web assessments. Because we're a web-based system, we can start deploying web assessments and even get into mobile assessments after that. And so we see there's a great runway and there's a great potential product expansion that we can build off of. The other reason why we're giving it for free is because Scantron has had deep market penetration for 20 years. Where others failed was by trying to develop or have a business model where they sell software and hardware too. So what we're trying to do is have a bottom-up instead of selling top-down into educational institutions, and trying to get teachers to adopt that. And by making it free, we're removing the biggest barrier, which is cost. By making it free also, we're focusing on what teachers really need. Less bloated products, where the feature bloated products that are sold to the top administration, we're not doing that. We're just sticking to the basics and giving them what they need. And that will eliminate a lot of the rollout risk when we come to sell the premium features. It also adds value over time. The more the teacher puts into the system, the more valuable the system becomes because they have more data in it, and the more the switching cost becomes higher for them. We have developed a proprietary system that allows for this to happen with image recognition of all these sheets and all this data. And right now we're currently piloting this system with a couple of educational institutions over the summer and ramping up towards a public launch this August before the academic year. And that's where we're going to be using a lot of the OCE money to help us get to that point and go to market. Our vision is to really go beyond really just assessments. By being able to gather all this data about student performance, we're able to get to a point where we can pick up where the teachers left off. Instead of a teacher that doesn't have much time to personalize a lot of the teaching, we can pick off from that point and start with this data, giving students additional resources, additional educational support, automatically and independent of the teacher's time. And that's why we have called this software Akindi, because it stands for Assessing Knowledge Independently. Right now, we think that the assessment market is a huge market, and this is our first step into that market. And we're doing it by solving a real pain point for teachers here in Ontario and teachers all around the world. Thank you.
Question I have two questions. One is a technical one, and that is the accuracy of your optical recognition system.
Yes.
Given that you don't have a lot of control on the form itself. You provide a form, but they'll copy them, they'll copy a copy. and so on.
Absolutely.
So the accuracy there. And the second question is, I'm still not unclear on your business model in terms of how you're actually going to recoup money.
So for the first question, that's what we're doing right now in terms of the testing the accuracies. And we are at a benchmark level that is very on the same level as what Scantron actually, the Scantron system does. And that's one of the reasons why, because we've demonstrated that to some of these educational institutions, that's why we were able to get these pilot programs. So we're getting the official data by the end of the summer in terms of the benchmark after a certain statistical dependency is achieved. The other question in terms of the premium features, what we're doing right now, because we know that there are so many things that we can build that Scantron scanners cannot do because they're just fixed on these Scantron bubble sheets, we have these things that teachers and institutions have already told us from our engagement with them that they're willing to pay for, right? And so it's working and experimenting at a certain price points and the certain things that we will be able to integrate on top of that product that we have that they will end up paying for. Like I mentioned, the custom tests, the integrations, these things institutions need to have in place in order for them to use the product, and they are willing to pay money for it. And so, you know, what Scantron is doing, we're giving for free. Other things that we're going to be building on top, we're going to be charging for.
So I guess I'm a little bit worried about how you don't become overwhelmed by your free service that allows you to then move to your paid services.
So from a teacher's point of view, how you're not...
How you're going to manage not being overwhelmed by your free service and taking all of the time to provide the free service and then not having time to develop the more custom services.
Absolutely. So that's the beauty of the costs. The reason why this hasn't been done 5 years ago is because of a lot of cost effectiveness in a lot of the things that related to technology. Everything from the server storage costs all the way to deploying, the technology itself. All these things are much cheaper now and much more automated and easier for us to be able to handle. It's the upfront effort that we put in and then a minimal effort to continuously manage this type of service. The only thing would be support and building the community around the free service. But that is also manageable within the costs of providing it for free. Because if you compare the marketing costs that you were going to spend if you were actually charging for this product versus putting that money that was going to be marketing and market penetration into actually, building a community and giving proper support to these free teachers, right? We would rather go with that and give it to them and allow for, a much wider base to adopt this product. And so that was kind of the calculation that we did. And based on these, the technology costs, it made a lot of sense.
I guess the question is, how do you guys eat in the meantime? That's the problem with the economic model.
Well, thankfully we have a lot of support.
I thought you did a great job in the actual presentation, so well done for that.
Thank you.
Have you been working with teachers to make sure that the product that you're providing them is the product that they want?
Absolutely, and that's one of the very initial things that we looked to differentiate ourselves from Scantron. I mean, all teachers hate a lot of the things that come along with it. Things like, the bottlenecks during exam times because they have one central machine in the school, right? So understanding how their workflow works. And the reason why we actually started with paper, where people keep on telling us, well, why didn't you do an iPad app instead, right? Is because teachers still rely on paper for exams. Teachers still want to be able to hand out, sheets of exams in the school. And so we're very cognizant of keeping the workflow the same so that there's minimal, effort or changeover or learning or training that would be involved by mimicking the existing workflow. And so we were very, very closely working with, a group of teachers that allowed to, give us their feedback and as we develop the product.
Maybe one quick question.
Yes.
With Scantron, do you have any intelligence in terms of whether they're doing something similar and just haven't adopted it yet because it would be cannibalizing what they have today?
Well, that's the biggest thing is that it's not that they don't have the ability, but their business model doesn't allow them to be able to go down that path. they are trying. They haven't done anything similar. What they try to do is they try to do some customizations and things of that sort, but absolutely not the path where you can use any scanner and any sheet of paper and just give it away and try to get that type of adoption. They're going up the ladder in terms of, acquiring web assessment companies and going down that path, but not really taking care of that. They're still milking that cow, so to speak, until they, get as much as they can. Thank you.
Next up, Stephen Nicodemo, Liquid Wild Brand Development. Liquid Wild Media Brand Development.
Sight have always been a basis for human engagement and connection, allowing us to drive innovation. Here at Liquid Wild, we have identified an opportunity in the new digital society. Technology-oriented and online startups need a voice to build brand awareness by creating good stories and places to tell them. Due to financial and resource limitations, it can be difficult for startups to be everywhere in their market. Much like technology-based applications, photographs and videos are universal, offering natural transferability among one another. People connect with content, and content is what fuels engagement. So it's time for brands to create visuals that people remember, that are shared, liked, and viewed across the web. Liquid Wild, driving creativity forward.
How you doing, everyone? Just gonna wait here for the PowerPoint to come up. So we are Liquid Wild Media, along with my fellow co-workers here, Paul Pelledo and Sean Davidson. We come from Windsor, Ontario. So we are an innovative film, photography, and design company. And we are redefining the angle on content creation. And this is through dynamic content creation, which is creating visuals, either through video, design, and photos, which really stimulates word of mouth and sharing, liking, reposting through blogs across the web. And we also do this through branded storytelling, which is telling a story about your brand and creating more of a persona and a personality about your brand rather than just being about the product. So one of the biggest challenges facing companies today is producing enough content and producing engaging content as well. And being enough content is that people will come back to your brand, keep being engaged with your marketing even after you have revealed stuff to them the first time. So the voice of visuals. We provide a marketing voice for tech innovators and inventors, allowing them to really focus on their product while we provide them with a marketing solution through visuals that really gets them out there in their market. So it can be difficult for startups to be everywhere in their market in the beginning due to financial and resource limitations. So they need to do an extraordinary job with a few focus mediums, such as blogs, video, photography, mobile, and social in this new technological era. So there is an opportunity that we recognize here at Liquid Wild to create universal, stunning content, stories, and places to tell them for brands. So what's old cannot be new. Customers have simply shut off the world of traditional marketing, in a sense. A lot of them, will ignore magazine advertisements. A lot of them have PVRs, which they can record their video on their TVs and ignore advertisements through television. And also, they can surf the internet and ignore information and go to certain sites that they want. So it's important for brands to really get out there and put creative visuals out there that people will share over the web. So we create visual-rich content that benefits tech startups as well as corporate brands. We do this through innovative video, photography, website design, and branded content marketing. We use unique creative processes to create visually epic solutions for brands. And we do this through technology. We make everything technologically through creative editing, unique camera angles, green screen technology, and special effects to really capture the clients or the customers engagement over the web. So, and this also stimulates content that is shared, liked, and viewed across the web through social media. As we've seen with Facebook cover timelines now, visuals are very important for brands. And also with YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and now Instagram, the photo sharing platform, visuals are even more important now than they were before. So the market opportunity, 90% of purchase decisions start online. This is from Forrester's research 2008. It's now at around 94% of purchase decisions that start online. Interesting content is a top 3 reason why people follow brands on social media. And good content is gold for Google's SEO algorithms. As people share, like, and repost content across the web, it creates links, backlinks for SEO, boosting your website visibility on Google. So we also provide benefits to Ontario. Job creation for tech talents and creative minds is what we're trying to stimulate here. Create a good employment base here at Liquid Wild. And also, we do this while providing marketing for startups and businesses, allowing them to grow and create jobs as well. So it's a two-pronged system here that we do job creation and benefit Ontario in that way. So we differentiate from the present and optimize with the future. So video adoption for content marketing has risen 27% amongst businesses in the last year. Also, 9 out of 10 organizations market with content marketing nowadays, which is video, photography, design, mobile, and social. And this year, 62% of business marketers will outsource their content, which is video and photography, to outside sources, being Liquid Wild is one of the sources that they can outsource to. And this is only the beginning of content marketing. It's starting to rise. It's really something that's on the up right now. So the project, we're seeking an investment of $25,000 from OCE Discovery, which will be used to engage tech startups, allowing us to better understand them, market them, and help them grow. So we can work with them, through creating something. Sorry. Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, thank you very much. So, are you familiar with the series Mad Men?
I am.
So you think of yourself as the Mad Men of the
future.
Of the future. And the reason I'm bringing this is we're talking about innovation, and I think those folks back in the 60s were bringing the similar type of innovation in the advertising. My question relates to how are you going to really engage those startups?
Well, we work
if
with,
that's your target market.
Yes, that's one of our target markets as well as corporate brands and other businesses. For startups, we sit down with them, figure out what they really need, what their product is, and how they want to get out there in their market. What they're looking to, reveal through is if through photography, do they want to do a video that shows, the lifestyle of how their product is actually going to be used out in the market. We are doing a video actually right now for a web or mobile website development company. So we're showing how their websites will get out into the world and how it will lead to lead generation and sales generation for the businesses that actually come through and actually get a website for them. So that's something that we're looking, as we work with startups, we figure out the value that they need and we provide, value for both of us. So either through stock sharing, we figure out a financial plan that works for them because they obviously have resource limitations in the beginning.
I guess there's no IP here.
As far as IP,
what I'm thinking about, there's a giant world out there called
Sure.
Madison Avenue and all this stuff, and they have lots of money. And the minute they see your stuff, they'll put you out of business.
Well, we do a copyright on all of our work as we go, so we have protection on our work. We also are looking into trademark and that kind of thing.
But
for our
you
business.
you can't copyright the process, only the content. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have trade secrets that we use to really get ahead of our market. Obviously, I can't reveal them, but we use copyright to protect all our images. So if they want to try and mimic our techniques, they can.
I have been to your website, and it's great work. I really
Thank you.
love it. My concern would be, how do you scale your custom creativity?
How do we scale it?
Yeah.
As far as
how do you build this into a growing business? I know that your limitations will be how much you can do with the bodies you have.
Sure.
And right now, that's a limited number of bodies.
Yes.
But how do you ramp it?
Well, we're looking to hire some new creative talents. We have some schools, the University of Windsor, obviously, which we came through. We have great talent there. Also, the St. Clair Center of Arts. We have animators there as well that we work with and outsource to. So we're really looking to create a job force that we can have enough resources to assist many businesses. So that's something that we're looking to scale as well through hiring and creating jobs.
Okay. Just one comment. Some of your money is that you've asked for is going towards production equipment. You may find other avenues to finance that and save this kind of funding for something else, such as a small business loan, that kind of thing.
We have considered that. Yeah, we have scaled that back a little bit. That we might go towards renting equipment in the beginning rather than purchase, and allow us to market ourselves with tech startups and bigger companies, so that we can cut our costs.
So my question, it really is about how you differentiate yourself in the marketplace, given that, as you point out, there's more than 250 creative and web design and photography and video kinds of businesses out there. What makes what really distinguishes Liquid Wild?
What really distinguishes us? Well, our creative process is obviously something that really does distinguish us, and our creative minds is tough to measure, obviously, but that's something that does differentiate us. Also, our customer retention right now is at around 80% of the customers we had. We've had about 20 clients so far, and about 75% has led to lead generation through those customers to other jobs. So that's one of our main competitive advantages, is that we can keep clients on, and we do quality work for them that they really enjoy, and they also they give us leads into other businesses as well. So they want to share our work, and that's something that's really gave us a competitive advantage in our market so far.
In your application, you stated that your first target market is the Windsor-Essex area,
Yes.
but you didn't expand on where you would think to go after that.
Where we'd like to go after that? Yes. We'd like to expand into the London market and up here towards Toronto, the GTA. That's something that we'd like to do as well. And we're also exploring going into the U.S. market as well through Detroit. We're right next to Detroit, so that provides us, with an opportunity to really, expand into the U.S. market and the Canadian market as well. That's something that we're looking at going into London as well.
Thanks, Stephen. Next up, Payman Moini, Tamper-Aware RFID Retail Security Solutions, and that's a long name.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming to the 2012 OCE ELP competition. My name is Taras Kulik, and this is Payman Moini, and we're here to talk to you a little bit about Paytech Incorporated. A little bit about Paytech before we dive right into it. We're housed out of the Ryerson Digital Media Zone just down the street, giving us access to some fantastic resources, as well as some of the best engineering faculty in the country. So Paytech, our reason of existence is essentially helping create solutions to some of the issues that people and businesses are having globally, really with an engineering twist around it. Today we're focusing on our very first commercialized product, or going to commercialization, called the Tamper-Aware Radio Frequency Identification System. It's a long word, very straightforward concept. To distill it, our reason of really being here is to help fight the $104 billion global market in inventory shrinkage related to customers. To get a little bit more into the technology, Payman Moini.
Hello everyone, good morning. Just gotta fix this. So 2 years ago, I had a conversation with one of my friends. She works in Winners, and she told me they have a huge problem with shrinkage and shoplifting in their stores. So me doing research, trying to find out what the exact problem is, I came up with finding 3 major problems with current security systems out there. So the first one is unauthorized removal of security tags. The second problem is lack of coverage of private areas such as washrooms and fitting rooms. And the third problem is the only point of theft detection is at the entrances and the exit doors. So knowing the problem, as an engineer who have always been trying to come up with innovative designs and coming up with solutions for real-world problems, we came up with TA-RFID, and that's where Paytech started. So what is TA-RFID? Tamper-Aware RFID. So basically, TA-RFID is essentially a security tag like this. It's a really thin security tag that sticks to your product. And what happens if someone tries to peel off the tag will send a silent alarm, as you can see over here. And the silent alarm will go to the 3 transceivers, as you can see, 1, 2, 3. And those transceivers essentially work as a local GPS system. So it can detect where the person has tampered with the tag in the store. So what is the advantage? How is this tag better than the existing solutions out there? So we have 2 major advantages. The first one is we can actually instantly detect someone if they tamper with the tag. So rather than catching someone at the door, we catch them in the store. So the second major advantage is we can actually cover private areas such as washrooms and fitting rooms. This is where most of the shoplifting attempts are occurring. And with our solution, we are solving that problem. So just to explain better, I'm going to quickly go through shrinkage scenario. So as you can see, that person, she's standing in the washroom. She tampers with the tag, and a silent alarm will be sent from the tag to the 3 transceivers, and with our system, we can automatically detect where that person is instantly, and our security staff will be notified. Now, Taras, our business expert, will going to explain more of the business aspect of our technology.
Thank you, Payman. I don't need to really say it, but I guess I will. The RFID industry globally is getting massive. We've heard of all these different types of new deployments, from our credit cards to people actually implanting them in them. We're really focusing on reducing inventory shrinkage within the retail sector. It's the low-hanging fruit. There is a desperate need for it. We've talked to retailers. They are interested if we can show that this is a viable commercialized product. The market figures are there: 6.4 billion in 2010, 11.3 billion in 2015, with the predominant amount of that revenue is in the tags, which is what we're focusing on. The retail shrinkage predominantly caused by customers in the different markets from Europe to Asia. And again, retail anti-theft is taking a bigger chunk of the pie going forward. We did an ROI case on the LCBO. We've all heard of the LCBO. Just to show that we figured out that with the expenses and the costs, variable as well as fixed, with as little as a 30% reduction in inventory shrinkage related to customers, we can have ROI from day one. Signing on one major player, such as the LCBO, will definitely provide Paytech with an ongoing revenue stream, creating high-skilled, high-employment jobs right here in Ontario, really showing that commercialization from the universities onto Main Street can happen. Thank you for your time.
The technology is proprietary. You're trying to put a patent. Can you give us a sense of the cost of the technology and the barriers in introducing a new technology in a market?
Oh, I'll answer. So with the cost of technology, we are actually using the new technologies, which is MEMS, microelectromechanical technology. So with that, the price is really low as we do mass production. So the cost of the product will be, right now, we'd say 10 cents per tag, but the price will go down for sure, because that's an high estimate we do just to enter the market. So once we prove the concept, we can actually do mass production, and that's when the price of the tag will actually significantly reduce. But right now, even right now, our price is competitive with the price out there in the market with the current existing system.
And what about the price of the infrastructure in the store and the people time it might require, and so on and so forth?
Well, installing the transceivers, this is your question?
Yeah.
Well, this is one-time cost, and the price of transceivers are really low. So I would say per 30 meter by 30 meter, which is 900 meters squared, we only need 4 transceivers to install, and that's with the current technology out there. As the technology improves, we need less per square feet. Let me add to this? Go ahead.
To add on to this as well, we actually use existing security system infrastructure. We have a middleware server that actually takes the CCTV systems as well as the existing RFID stands and bundles them into the tag system. So there is a small uptick in regards to one-time fixed costs, which is the transceivers, but the majority of the actual ongoing cost is replacing the tags as inventory is actually bought, which is also a good thing because it becomes a cost of sale rather than ongoing fixed expense.
I'm going to be devil's advocate. I'm thinking you said 30 meters by 30 meters. Now, what about Walmart or these places that are like 100 meters by 100 meters? How are you going to deal with that one?
Well, just talking about the price of the tag, price of the transceivers, right now, if you just go and buy it off the shelf, each transceiver will cost $30. That's me going online and just buy one. So thinking of customizing that transceiver and actually do it in mass production, so the price will be significantly low. We're talking about if we design just a custom made, the price will go down to $10 a transceiver.
Okay. And can they actually take it right off? I'm just wondering, when they're finished, they're walking out the front door, and they haven't tampered with it at all.
Oh, okay,
You have to have another one at the front door, or they have to get out with the stolen goods, right?
Well, actually, it's a dual system, and the current iteration of the product that we have is a one-time tag.
Yeah.
So as soon as it's purchased, the actual customer comes out of the store, it's deactivated at the front kiosk. Our real target market right now is high shrinkage, high priced inventory. So think of Shoppers Drug Mart, razor blades, perfumes, etc. Not necessarily like apples or bananas, but definitely like an iPod or, again, the $50 shavers that we have at Shoppers Drug Mart. So high shrinkage, high priced items at first.
So these things peel off also.
That's how you activate them, yeah.
Yeah, but I think when you get home, you want to get this thing off.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. So this is actually it's called a viscoelastic material. So, so how it works is, if you try to remove it very fast, it gets very rigid. But if you go very slowly, because it's time dependent, it will go very, very slowly, so you can easily peel it off.
Didn't I ask you a good question?
And this is
I remember viscoelastic.
Yes.
Would you be considering selling an entire system or just the individual tags?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're actually doing a dual method at this point. We're in contact with the Korean MEMS manufacturer to really get a scaling price model so we can know how much it costs per 100,000, per million, per 10 million. In regards to installation and infrastructure, we're going to be going after distributors who are already in this market, who have the human capital, who have the resources, and who have the marketing distribution to do it for us. In regards to building a brand, depending on the financing, depending on how quickly we can get to market.
I just have, I have one, just a question in regards to your budget. You were going to work on a pilot with the Ryerson bookstore, and so the equipment that you're asking to purchase with the funding, is that to equip the bookstore or?
To run the pilot, and then at the end of the pilot, we're actually going to negotiate with them if they'd like to buy the equipment. Then we'd figure out a preferred rate for them based on the human capital they've given us for the actual studying, because we're trying to get the metrics and see what the shrinkage results actually are to build into our business case.
And one last question: have you talked to Tyco?
No, we have not, but we'd love an introduction.
Oh, interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That's 2 contestants now that stayed exactly at the 5-minute mark. Judges, please note that. Next up, Joy Loy from Inflow.
Open these during the question period.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Joey. This is Jason, and we are Flockwire. Flockwire is a service. Sorry. We email and send. Okay, that's a bad start. Is it okay if I start again? Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Joey. This is Jason, and we are Flockwire. Story is very important to us at Flockwire. At our core, what we do is computationally create stories which we send to grandparents. Since story is so important to us, I'd like to share a story with you. This is Jane. She is 38 years old. She hates disappointing people, especially her 2 kids. When Mandy and Sarah became obsessed with going to the park, she made it happen and she brought them there. When her boss asked her to work extra hours to get that promotion she really wanted, she didn't disappoint and she pulled it off. And when her grandmother asked her to send photos of her grandkids to her, of course she readily agreed. But when Grandma called a week and a half later, wondering where her photos were, she realized that she forgot to sort through her hundreds of Facebook photos. She didn't run to the store and get stamps. She forgot to grab the envelope. And being such a busy mom that she is, she just let it slip her mind. She hates disappointing her grandmother, and she felt awful about it. So when her friend mentioned Flockwire, she was really happy because she learned that Flockwire was a service that computationally creates newsletters that she can send to her grandparents. It was only $10 a month, and she could send 4 weekly updates automatically to her grandparents. She checked it out, and within 30 seconds after syncing with Facebook, she was looking at a beautiful story sheet. Oh, video's supposed to run. After a few adjustments, she began typing in a message to her grandparents, or to her grandma, and She clicked send. Oh, she's typing the message right now, talking about her great weekend. She hit send, knowing in her heart that her grandma would love it. For the millions of people like Jane, we are solving a real-world problem. We are bringing high-tech to low-tech in a very simple and easy way. And by doing this, we're bridging the gap between communication between generations. Flockwire works for three main reasons. It is affordable. You can't really put a price on a smile on grandma's face. Second one is very easy to use. The story sheet is created automatically through our software. All you have to do is adjust a few things, hit approve, and off it goes in the mail automatically. And three, it's paper. Grandma loves it. It's something that she can show her friends, that she can put on the fridge, she can scrapbook it. It's something that she's very comfortable with, and that's why we think it works. We're currently in beta launch with 20 users. We've been building Flockwire for 4 months, and we've been sending story sheets every week. With working with our beta testers, we have seen that people who really enjoy it share it with their friends. Right now we have beta testers mostly across Southern Ontario, mostly referred through other beta testers. As well, we're going to use Facebook ads to kick off the virality of Flockwire. Because we're synced with Facebook, we can easily take advantage and strategize with tags and wall posts and things like that, so families can really see what their friends are doing and jump on the bandwagon. And fourth, we want to create a brand that's all about family, where we want to work with bloggers who have a large following of yoga moms and new mothers, so that they can learn about Flockwire from a source that they trust. We're one of the first movers and shakers in the high-tech to low-tech, sharing stories with loved ones. And we'll be effective because we create story sheets automatically. There's a great way for us to become viral through Facebook and through sharing photos, and also because it's very sticky. Imagine telling your grandma after you started that we're not going to send her story sheets anymore. We don't like disappointing our family, and we believe that people who use Flockwire will use it for a long time. People who are using it say they love it and they're having a great time. By September, our goal is to reach 25,000 users, and we will be using $25,000 to help get us there. $20K will be used to add to our tech team and develop our AI so that we can continue to improve our story sheet making process and to continue to make it easier for users. As well, we're going to use $5,000 to kick off our virality and fund our Facebook campaign. We're Flockwire. We believe in creating stronger families. We'd love your support. Thank you. I'd like to call up Jason to the stage to help answer some questions.
So I'm not sure how to interpret one of your statements, because it said that children don't communicate with their grandparents because it's inconvenient. I have 7 grandchildren. I receive lots of pictures on my iPod and so on. So back to the target demographics that you're aiming at, because those of us boomers are now becoming grandparents, but we are technically literate.
So one of the observations we made during our market research is that while many people uses like iPod, iPhones, Facebook, Flickr to connect with their grandchildren, but they would much rather receiving things on paper, much rather look at things on paper, much rather the children send them things on paper, because they're the sort of paper generation, and sort of there's a large gap between them. But like if your grandchildren doesn't send you those things, then you have to sort of make the jump into Facebook and Flickr and stuff. So we believe basically we make it easier and more engaging for many more grandparents than those that are willing to jump to Facebook.
I noticed that you had another previous company called PhotoFlow TV. And just curious how the adoption rate was on that one and why you might not bundle it with this service offering.
Okay, so PhotoFlow was our first product, and we realized that the overhead was too high and it was unrealistic to implement it. We spoke to 3 retirement homes. They all said they were very interested. However, the hardware was just way too expensive and it wasn't realistic. And there wasn't the opportunity to retail it because we realized that if seniors have Wi-Fi in their homes, which the PhotoFlow needed, then they would probably be on Facebook or on email or something. So it wouldn't provide any extra value for them. So that was where we realized the value is providing them photos and helping families stay connected. PhotoFlow didn't really fulfill that in the right way, but we believe Flockwire does.
So with your current product, if you're sending stories to people overseas, does that affect your 66 cents per storyboard comment or cost?
So basically, we are right now we're testing to see what percentage of people want to send a story sheet overseas and what percentage of people want to send it to North America. And basically, our goal is to balance the story sheet, the cost of storage sheet sent overseas, and the profit we make on the storage sheet sent within North America, so that we come to a net profit. But if that changes, we can charge a surcharge on the storage sheet sent overseas, so that we can make a profit overall.
And in the future, we'll be using fulfillment houses around the world so that they're quicker to send and also reduces cost if shipping becomes an overwhelming expense.
I was just confused when you were talking about your IP and your technology. You were talking about inflow technology, and then you were talking about Flockwire technology, and I don't get the connection. I don't understand how they're related.
Okay, so that's just a confusion about branding. Inflow is a company, and Flockwire is the product.
Okay.
Right now, I get wonderful email letters from family with photographs, with updates of what they've been doing, that sort of thing. How are you going to get them to engage with your product rather than doing what's easy and available?
We think we offer value because it's automatic, one, and the users that is it possible to go back? One of our users, a lot of them, their grandparents don't use computers, and those are the demographic that we want to help or reach out to.
And also, like from our talking to a lot of youth and teenagers, basically, or young adults, basically, a lot of them have a lot of things on their plate, and they just don't have a lot of time to engage with their grandparents. So a lot of them just call their grandparents maybe once every 2 weeks, and that's all their engagements. And so, like, if your grandchildren or your children is sending newsletter, it's great. Like, it's absolutely wonderful. But like, a lot of people just don't have that, and we want to help everyone to achieve that very simply, intuitively.
Thank you, guys. Last up, but certainly not least, Marty Burney from Marty Burney Music.
Good morning. My name is Marty Burney. I'm a recent graduate from the Humber College Music Program, and what I do is I compose my own original compositions that are tailored for film, television, interactive media, so video games, apps, that sort of thing, and online advertising. Before I continue, I'll play you a demo of my music. So there's an enormous market potential right now for this enterprise. Toronto is the third largest cluster in North America for film and television production. Canada also ranks third internationally for video game development. Last year, in fact, was Toronto's best year on record for film and television, contributing $1.26 billion to the Ontario economy. It's projected that by 2015, 90% of all internet traffic will be video. There will be a 400% growth in video advertising, and there will be a 7 times growth in corporate engagement with social media. Now, these represent enormous opportunities for me to use my services, to apply my services to. Now, my solution is that of sonic branding. There you go. The idea of partnering your brand with a sound. Now, this is important for 2 reasons. The first is creative differentiation. What I'm really offering is for these businesses, for film and television and video games advertisements, to be creatively different from their composition by having tailored music written specifically for what they're trying to express. And the importance of this is the heightened experience that music can provide. We know that music accesses more areas of the brain than any other single medium simultaneously, and so it has enormous potential to convey meaning that transcends words. Now, for the past year and a half, I've been working on independent productions, on video games, on advertisements, and for the past several months, I've been researching, I've been contacting video game designers, I've been talking to mentors, I've been talking to faculty, to figure out how I can best position myself to get into this market, not just in my first year out of school, but moving forward sustainably to create a career out of this. And the most important thing is credibility. This is entirely based on personal networks, personal relationships. And so it's important that people can trust that I can provide the service that they want. And the way that I'm doing that is I'm joining all of the local societies for musicians, for game designers, for filmmakers, and I'm attending events. Actually, just this past weekend, I was at TO Jam, or Toe Jam. It's a game jam where over a period of 3 days, you develop a video game with a team. Albert Lai was actually there with Big Viking Games, and I met him. It was great. It was a lot of fun. So I worked on 2 games there. So credibility is huge, and it's important that people can trust me. Now, differentiation is the second thing, because I don't just want to compete with all musicians writing in every style for every media format. So what I have to do is I'm working to build my own creative voice, my own musical style, so that instead of competing in every realm of music, I have my own market segment dependent on my sound that I can dominate. Now, with OCE help, I'll be able to move my business forward in 3 important ways that are currently unavailable to me. The first is networking opportunities. While there are low-hanging fruit, there's TO Jam and there are events that I can attend, there are cost-prohibitive networking events like trade shows that are currently unavailable to me just because they're cost-prohibitive. The second, there we go, is product development and testing. So this means that I'll be able to partner with media developers, video game designers, to create interactive media to use as a demo to move forward. And I'll be able to purchase the professional equipment necessary to make professional level music that I can use to appeal to a higher level of customer. And then these are the people I'd like to thank. Honorable mention especially to my research assistant, James Sleefers, who's been working tirelessly to get me through this presentation. Thank you.
So I was intrigued by the sonic branding, which I
Yes.
think is an interesting. We've seen, I guess, jingles in the past were the way companies associated themselves with a sound.
Yeah. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Yeah. So what are you going to do with this? I guess by merely talking about it, you've given away the idea to everybody else. So
what am I going to do with sonic branding?
Yeah.
I mean, the idea is out there. I didn't invent this thing. But I'm going to be using it not just for advertising, but because of the power of music to access different parts of the brain and to convey a meaning. I'll be using it not just in advertisements, but in all the media formats that I do. And it's basically just a way of conveying a meaning to someone that's beyond just telling them what you're doing, which is why I played a song there, right? So instead of telling you that I can just do music, I can show you that I can do music by playing it for you. And there's all kinds of meaning associated with the sounds in what I wrote for you. You know. Yes?
How do you think this will make jobs in Ontario?
Okay, well, it is a lifestyle business, so for scaling it's difficult. But what I can do, there's certainly a lot of opportunity in the film music industry for hiring professional musicians, for hiring studios and engineers. There are a lot of people involved in the creation of music for these media formats.
Marty, you have a large, credentialed advisory board and a lot of help from Humber. How dependent are you on Humber to be continuing to be there to support your business, or can you start to venture out without their help at some point?
Well, certainly they have helped me a lot, right? Like, I'm a music student coming into this, and they've given me a lot of help understanding business in the way that it should be understood. But I think that moving forward, like if Humber were to drop me right now, which they're not going to do, but if they were to drop me right now, I think I would be pretty self-sufficient. I've got a lot of mentors, and I've got a personal network of not only media designers, but people who are ahead of me in the Screen Composers Guild, for example. It's a very open community. We share ideas, and it's a good thing. So I think that...
My follow-on question would be, what happens to the business if Marty gets a wonderful offer from Ubisoft or Disney or some other large production house?
Well, a lot of those companies actually that I've been calling have been saying that sometimes they do have in-house people, but most of the time it's more cost-effective to outsource the music to contractors like me. So that's how I'll be servicing them, really.
My main concern for you is how saturated the Toronto market is with musicians, etc., who are already quite well established. How do you go out there and create credibility for what you're doing?
Certainly there are, like at the very low end of the market, there's a sort of race to the bottom of people with laptops and GarageBand, right, who can record a lot of stuff. And then ahead of me there are like a Google search brings up about 116 results of composers who have done shows and whatnot. And the way that I'm differentiating myself from, we'll start with the low end of the market, is I've got personal training, I've got the network, I understand the business. I can interpret from my experience what a person wants creatively and then help them with that. And then I've got the training to back that up. And then the people ahead of me in the market, I'm differentiating myself from them with fair pricing. So they charge a lot, right? And so I can charge less than Marvin Dolgay, the president of the Screen Composers Guild, does for like a David Suzuki special. But not just charging less, because that's a problem, right? The race to the bottom. So it's important to assign value to it. So I have standard rates that I use, and then to keep myself from rejecting projects that I may want, but may offer me value in other ways, I can always reduce those rates, but it's important to assign value to the work that I'm doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. It's not hard to tell that a lot of hard work and effort went into not only the presentations, but the ideas behind them. Through my day job, I see presentations almost daily, and from companies that are more established and ideas that are more evolved. And many of these were better than what I see on a daily basis. So, congratulations to all the participants today, and thank you for all your efforts and for joining us here today in Toronto. I'm very happy now that my job is just about done, and our esteemed panel of judges is about to begin. I don't envy your job. There's some difficult decisions to make there.
Thank you. I agree with you. The job is going to be very difficult. This was outstanding. I must say, when I received the business plans, etc., I was unsure, being a new. But I think my sincere congratulations to all of the contestants. I mean, the dynamic, the passion that they've displayed today, plus the originality of the ideas. I think they should all be congratulated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's hard to forget that they're, students and these ideas are very, very early stage. They almost the perception is that they're later stage. So great quality, and thank you, Jean-Claude, for your comments. So with that, I'd like to turn the festivities back over to our host, Tanya. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. I'd like to extend a special thank you to our judges, Trish Barrow, Jean-Claude Gavrel, Janet Scholes, Ian Smith, and Daryl Johnston. Your expertise is fantastic. Lending your time and with such busy schedules to evaluate the competition entries, we really thank you for that. Also, thank you to Tim for keeping us on track and moderating the session today. Again, we appreciate that. In recognition of this, we'd like to present you with a small token of our appreciation. Benny will bring out some nifty bags for you. And remember, the results of the competition will be announced during our lunch in halls F and G, which is to the left of the amphitheater. And thank you very much for your attention, and I'll see you at lunch. Thank you.